against the non-stop pump price increases in Metro Manila and different provinces. Now, as drivers brace for another round of fuel price hikes tomorrow, the government is also set to deliver its promised fuel subsidy. The Transportation Department says the payout will begin with jeepney drivers, but others will have to wait a little bit longer. More from Amor Santos.
Jeepney drivers get first crack at the fuel subsidy. Transport officials say 6,500 pesos will be credited to their Pantawid Pasada cards beginning March 15th.
Nakahanda naman po yung card eh. Hindi ko po alam kung may laman.
Malaki tutong na sana kung paabot pa karating sa amin. Hindi pa naabot ang operator.
Pagsamantala ng 6.5 na yan, ay paano naman susunod na araw? Tataas at tataas yan. Parang baliwala rin yan. Pupuno lang yung tangke pero hindi nyo makokontrol yung pagtaas.
While the payout is sure for drivers of four-wheeled vehicles, it's still unclear how much tricycle drivers and delivery riders will get.
Within this week and next week, kasama na po yung card production and card distribution. Kasama na po yung downloading of funds.
These tricycles is easy. We've done that in the past.
Official data shows of more than 377,000 beneficiaries, less than a third or 113,000 are drivers of tricycles and delivery services. But there are millions of tricycle drivers nationwide. Officials say they will work with local government units on cash aid for tricycle drivers.
Dapat sir makakuha kami kasi para-parehas naman kami nagagamit ng gasolina eh. Napakahirap po talaga. Kung mayroon man, napakalaking tulong po sa amin yun.
If world oil prices hit $140 per barrel due to the Ukraine-Russia conflict, energy officials say gasoline could sell for 87 pesos per liter and over 81 pesos for diesel. Consumers are feeling the pinch with higher prices of basic goods and commodities, and soon to follow a further rise in electricity bills according to power distributor Meralco. A number of sectors have called for a quick fix, suspending taxes on fuel, but the government has rejected it.
This will translate to significant foregone revenues, and this will be detrimental to our recovery and long-term growth. However, Mr. Chair, the government remains ready to provide targeted relief assistance and support to address the impact of the oil price hike for affected sectors.
Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
The Energy Department, meanwhile, says it is planning to hit the brakes on fuel excise taxes, even as economic managers earlier rejected the idea. Energy Chief Alfonso Cusi says President Duterte is also calling for a special meeting tomorrow to address the spiraling fuel costs.
We're discussing that, no? Sa amin, ako, sinabi ko noon, let's suspend excise tax. That is from our perspective on the sa fuel, no? But again, looking at the bigger picture, pag nagmi-meeting po kami, siyempre binabalanse po natin sa mga pangangailangan. Ito pong excise tax na ito, ginagamit, hindi lang marami pinagagamitan po ito, no?
Social services.
Social services, everything. So, binabalanse po yon.
Cusi is pushing for a staggered fuel price hike, although oil companies are not keen on the idea. The steady increase in fuel prices has made it even more difficult for many Filipinos to make ends meet. Now, a labor group has filed a petition with the Metro Manila Wage Board for a hefty minimum wage hike. Chrissy Di Matulak reports.
Raymond is a delivery courier. He gets 537 pesos per day, the minimum wage in Metro Manila. His company also gives him gas allowance and other incentives based on the number of deliveries. He says his monthly take-home still falls short of covering his expenses.
Pag sahod man, bayad sa utang, kulang pa rin talaga.
Maris will enlist in a manpower agency for overseas work. She says she may reconsider if a wage hike is approved.
Maganda nandito ka sa Pilipinas kasama yung mga pamilya mo. Kesa naman umalis ka pa kung sakto naman yung kinikita.
Labor Group Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, or TUCP, is seeking a substantial pay hike in Metro Manila. After its petition in 2019 failed to get the Regional Wage Board's approval, it now wants 470 pesos more from the current 537 peso daily wage. TUCP says a higher minimum wage is called for to cover higher prices of fuel and basic goods and commodities.
For us, we give what should be given to the workers.
The Metro Manila Wage Board last raised the base pay in 2018 worth 25 pesos. Workers are hoping officials will grant a higher amount.
This time, wag naman 25 pesos the last time.
TUCP says around 5 million minimum wage workers now count themselves as poor. But this early, employers say small companies may have difficulty paying more to their workers since they are still recovering from the pandemic.
Walang remedyo pa, especially para doon sa micro kung hindi tumulong ang gobyerno. Directly doon sa mga empleyado or doon sa mga kumpanya. Otherwise, hindi kaya talagang bayaran ng mga micro-enterprises yung increased minimum wage.
The employers group says a number of laborers are in the so-called informal sector that don't receive minimum wage, like drivers, street vendors, farmers, and fisher folk. Labor Chief Sylvester Rebello earlier asked wage boards to speed up the review of the minimum wage. He says he expects recommendations before end April. Chrissy De Matulak, CNN Philippines.
Now, what should consumers do to cope with the unabated fuel and commodity price increases? One expert weighs in on how to spend money wisely. Our Stanley Gahete reports.
Health worker Vilma Morales earns less than 10,000 pesos per month. She allots 1,500 pesos for food, which could only last 4 days for her family.
Kahit sabihin mong piso, 2 piso, nakakaapekto pa rin yun sa mga kita ng bawat pamilya. Dahil dyan sa pagtaas, noon hindi ako nakakautang, ngayon kailangan mangutang.
Worker Joanne allots 2,000 pesos for groceries for 2-week consumption.
Yung iba po na kailangan ko, hindi ko na nabibili. So, mas pina-priority ko na lang po yung talagang kailangan ko na araw-araw kong ginagamit.
Meanwhile, businessman June Pasco has a 6-figure salary, but the price hikes also affect his finances.
Even I am the owner of the company, mabigat ang panahon ngayon. Wala na ako nasisave kasi yung mga tao ko, I need to help my people.
People from all walks of life are affected by the economic crisis. The question is, what should they do to survive? According to a financial expert, it is important to spend and save properly regardless of how much money one makes.
Issue of prioritization, ano ba yung priority natin? Then doon ka mag-a-adjust along the way. Although kahit na sabihin mo maliliit na amount yan, nag-a-add up din yan, makakatulong din yan.
Johnson also says Filipinos need to track their expenses and make sure that their income is bigger than their spending.
Example, pagkain. Mas mahal ang baboy kaysa sa giniling na baboy. Parehong baboy yan, pero hindi pareho yung cost. Magbabawas ka ng mga, ano mo yun, mga sugar products, kasi medyo mahal yun. O sige, fix ang salary mo. Pero ano pa yung mga pwede mong idagdag? Gumawa ka ng side hustle or sa salita na iba, rumakat ka ng konti.
Johnson adds Filipinos also need to improve their financial literacy to break the cycle of poverty and to survive economic downturn.
Wala tayong mga gawa sa ekonomiya, no? Pero may mga gawa tayo sa ating pangsariling ekonomiya. Wake up call sa atin to para maalala natin na sa susunod na magkaroon ng crisis, mas ready tayo.
Stanley Gahete, CNN Philippines.
We're still monitoring the war in Eastern Europe. Diplomatic talks are set to take place yet again between Ukrainian and Russian officials today. Ukraine believes it will get concrete results this time around. It says Russia has become, quote, much more sensitive to the Ukrainian position. Russian troops, however, are doing the opposite on the ground. 35 people were killed while 130 were injured after they fired missiles near the city of Lviv on Sunday. Russia also asked China for military aid, which U.S. officials say was concerning. With Russia expanding its offensive, the Foreign Affairs Department appeals to the remaining Filipinos in Ukraine to go home. Over 200 Filipinos summoned Chinese Ambassador Wang Xilian over the Chinese Navy's illegal incursion in the Sulu Sea. The agency says a Chinese Navy vessel entered Philippine waters without permission from January 29 to February 1st. The vessel reached Palawan's Cuyo group of islands and Apo Island in Mindoro, claiming it was exercising innocent passage. But the DFA says it violated the country's sovereignty as it continued its activities in Philippine waters despite being directed to leave. The Chinese Embassy in Manila says it will issue a proper response on the matter. Coming up less than 2 months before the Filipino votes, presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos and his running mate Sara Duterte are still the frontrunners in the recent Pulse Asia survey. And good news, James Lee fans. The actor-singer reveals he won't be staying in the United States for good. More when we return.
RPN DXKP Pagadian. Ang inyong Radyo Ronda. RPN. RPN. Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. Live to the world. Pinaagi sa FB page. Karon, mag-download na. Pinaagi sa Google Play o Apple Store, YouTube o Twitter. Alang sa mas ipakuskan ng mga balita, komentaryo, kasayuran o kalingawan. Ang mas ipakuskan ng inyong Radyo Ronda. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Welcome back. Presidential candidate Bongbong Marcos and his running mate Sara Duterte are still leading in the latest Pulse Asia survey 56 days before the Filipino votes. Marcos got 60% voter preference in the survey conducted from February 18 to 23. He has a wide lead over Vice President Leni Robredo, who got 15%. Unlike the January survey, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and Senator Manny Pacquiao are no longer tied with 10% and 8% respectively. Senator Ping Lacson rounded up the top five with 2%. The Marcos campaign says negative campaigning against their candidate was not able to erode the trust of the Filipino people, while the Robredo camp notes the latest Pulse Asia survey was held before her record-breaking rallies all over the country in recent weeks. The chairman of Moreno's political party, Acción Democrático, claims the latest Pulse Asia survey does not match the Manila Bulletin study that shows Marcos is losing support while Moreno is consistently gaining ground. Pacquiao dismisses the results of the latest survey as mind conditioning. He's confident he will get the votes of the D and E classes, even if the survey showed Marcos is the top choice of voters from these population groups. No survey respondent from the National Capital Region chose Pacquiao as their preferred president.
Zero, grabe. Sino kaya maniwala no na? Dapat tinanong nila yung ano, baka yung mga mayayaman lang tinanong nila. Hindi nila tinanong yung mga mahihirap na tao. Kahit siruhin pa nila ako Luzon, Visayas, in Mindanao. Ano yan? Mind conditioning sa taong bayan.
Among the vice presidential hopefuls, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte is in the lead with 53%, higher than the 50% she got last January. Senate President Tito Soto suffered a 5% drop to 24% in the latest survey. Senator Kiko Pangilinan got 11%, Dr. Willie Ong 6%, ang Buhay Party List Representative Lito Atienza 1%. The survey was conducted through face-to-face interviews with 2,400 registered voters. It has a 2% error margin. President Duterte floats three specific traits he wants to see in his successor, although he refuses to endorse any candidate. An official of his party, PDP Laban, believes no other hopeful fits the bill aside from Vice President Leni Robredo. Trisha Terada tells us why in this report.
President Rodrigo Duterte says Filipinos must choose a chief executive who is compassionate, decisive, and a good judge of character. He would also prefer a lawyer to lead the country. Among the 10 presidential candidates, only Vice President Leni Robredo and Jose Montemayor Jr. are lawyers. For PDP Laban executive and Eastern Samar Governor Ben Evardone, it was, quote, a virtual endorsement of Robredo. Based on the qualifications set by President Duterte, Evardone announced support for Robredo on Monday. In a statement, Evardone said he welcomes and supports the high bar set by the president for his successor. He added there is only one decisive and compassionate lawyer among the candidates, and that is Robredo. But the PDP Laban faction led by Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi tells CNN Philippines The Source the party is not endorsing any presidential candidate, at least for now. He says the president is not talking about a candidate in particular.
He's talking about certain qualities of the president. I mean, certain qualities of a would-be president. No? Mas abogado, compassionate, no po, naging mayor, yun ang mga sinasabi niya. But I think that qualities hindi naman makita sa isang tao. Sino ba yung lawyer na naging mayor, compassionate, putting it all together. No individual would have that kind of qualification by himself. I think he was not referring to anybody, parang wish list na yun.
Amid speculations that the president is virtually endorsing Robredo, political analyst Mon Casipe says anything is possible at this point, but he thinks Mr. Duterte is still not endorsing anyone for now.
Yung mga sinabi na hindi naman out of this world eh. Yung pagiging abogado at saka yung mga iba pang mga qualifications na sinabi niya, sa tingin ko mas galing sa karanasan niya mismo bilang presidente. Baka appreciation na siguro kung ano na yung kalagayan ng bansa ngayon. No?
Casipe says the president's endorsement will be a huge boost to any candidate, considering his high ratings at the twilight of his term. But Casipe doubts it would be a deciding factor since voters choose bets who pass public scrutiny. For now, President Duterte has not endorsed any candidate. He previously said he would only endorse one if he sees a pressing need. Trisha Trada, CNN Philippines.
Vice President Leni Robredo also gets the endorsement of Bulacan Governor Daniel Fernando. Now, this comes 2 days after the team of Bongbong Marcos belied the Robredo campaign statement she has secured Fernando's support. Back in 2016, Robredo lost to Marcos by almost 200,000 votes in the country's fifth most vote-rich province.
Pwede naman po na hindi mag-endorse si Governor Daniel. Pwede naman na lumaro na lang siya sa iba't ibang mga kandidato. Pero yung pagpapasya na ang tutulungan isang kandidato na kagaya ko na hindi pa nangunguna sa service. Pagpapakita ng pagdesisyon na walang alintana sa epekto sa sariling kandidatura. Pero yung mas tinitingnan yung katatagan ng loob at pagmamahal sa kanyang.
Senator Ping Lacson reveals a mediator from the Robredo campaign has recently asked him to withdraw from the presidential race. Lacson says the agenda is to have a unified candidate against the son of the late dictator, Bongbong Marcos. The Partido Reforma standard-bearer also accuses the Robredo campaign of claiming he was backing out from the campaign, similar to what they are supposedly doing to Senator Manny Pacquiao. Meanwhile, Lacson says he will welcome an endorsement from President Duterte.
Di ba dapat lame duck na? Other presidents in the past, di ba pagdating ng towards the last quarter of the term, kita naman natin na parang hindi na iniintindi. Ewan ko kung ano meron doon si Presidente Duterte hanggang ngayon, maski kumausap ka sa ground, parang yung mga local officials, even congressmen, hanggang ngayon marami nag-iintay, sino ba i-endorse ng Presidente?
Manila Mayor Isko Moreno and his running mate Dr. Willie Ong woo voters in the Bicol region. They held a campaign rally in Sorsogon City today. Moreno said he would try to go to Robredo's hometown of Naga City if his schedule permits. Meanwhile, the external vice president of Acción Democrático, Attorney Bo Rocco, says his family supports Moreno's candidacy. Bo is the son of the late former Senator Raul Rocco, who established Acción Democrático in the late 1990s. Bongbong Marcos will not attend the Commission on Elections presidential debate this Saturday. That's according to his chief of staff and spokesperson, Vic Rodriguez, who said Marcos will be with his supporters on March 19th. 9 presidential candidates are set to attend the event. For the March 20 vice presidential debate, only 7 out of 9 bets will attend. Marcos's running mate, Sara Duterte, has not responded to COMELEC yet although she told media that she will not be participating. Senator Manny Pacquiao's running mate, Buhay Party List Representative Lito Atienza, declined the invitation while he recovers from knee surgery. Debate skippers will be banned from airing content in the Comlex e-rally Facebook page until the end of the campaign period. The second COVID-19 vaccine for children in the country, the Food and Drug Administration has approved Sinovac for emergency use on minors 6 to 17 years old. The Health Department says it will meet with experts for the pediatric vaccination guidelines. It adds the government has Sinovac doses in stock since the dosage for children and adults are the same. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Jean Solante says the Chinese-made vaccine is 74% effective against infection, 90% against hospitalization, and 100% against ICU admission and death. Solante is part of the vaccine experts panel that reviewed Sinovac's data.
The adverse reaction most common is pain at injection site and tenderness, but majority are grade 1 only. So there are no severe adverse reaction that led to death or related to the vaccine. We know that there are mothers who are hesitant to have their children vaccinated with Pfizer, no? So with another option that they feel comfortable because this is inactivated. So we hope that we can enhance the coverage for the 6 to 17 years old population.
Meantime, over 1.1 million people have been vaccinated in the fourth national vaccination drive held from March 10 to 12. This is about 62% of the 1.8 million target. Central Luzon was able to vaccinate 100% of its goal, while the Bangsamoro region again had the lowest coverage at 28%. In other news, little damage recorded from a 6.4 magnitude earthquake which struck Lubang, Occidental Mindoro at 5:05 a.m. Mayor Mike Orellani said only 2 homes or houses in the municipality were damaged. No casualties reported. Intensity 3 was felt in 7 areas, including Olongapo City and Tagaytay, Cavite. PHIVOLCS recorded over 180 aftershocks in Lubang. Still on Newsnight, star pole vaulter E.J. Obiena missed the World Championships in Serbia. How is this going to affect his ranking? And actor-singer James Reid will return to the Philippines next month, contrary to rumors he moved to the U.S. You're watching CNN Philippines.
Pwedeng i-repair at i-protect ang sensitive teeth. Mabisa ang
RPN DXKP Pagadian. Ang inyong Radyo Ronda. RPN. RPN. Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. Live to the world. Pinaagi sa FB page. Karon, mag-download na. Pinaagi sa Google Play o Apple Store, YouTube o Twitter. Alang sa mas kipakuskan ng mga balita, komentaryo, kasayuran o kalingawan. Ang mas kipakuskan ng inyong Radyo Ronda. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
You're watching Newsnight on CNN Philippines. E.J. Obiena, the world's number 5 in men's pole vault rankings, is disappointed with points lost from missing the World Indoor Championships in Serbia. Obiena told CNN Philippines he could have gotten an extra 100 to 200 points from the event. But TAFA did not endorse the Olympian in major tournaments this year because of a financial spat. In response, Puwersa ng Bayaning Atleta Party List Representative Jericho Nograles says the Sports Commission should defund the association. And LeBron James claims a milestone that is a first in the NBA. The Lakers star surpassed 10,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 10,000 assists. LeBron already scored over 30,000 points, but he entered the 10K club after making his 10,000th career assist in Sunday night's Phoenix Suns game. On to another sports legend. Tom Brady reveals he's heading back to the field just over a month since announcing his retirement. The NFL quarterback said on social media that he will come back for his 23rd season because he still has unfinished business. Another homecoming to look forward to, this time for James Reid, the actor-singer clarifying he did not move to the U.S. for good despite rumors and will be back by April. James says he only flew to Los Angeles, California for music collaborations.
I came out here to work on music, meet a lot of people, try and see what doors I can open, make a name for myself out here and make Filipinos proud. For this year, focusing on music, and I'm also excited to get back home. I'll be signing 4 artists to Careless Music, my music label, and we'll be releasing a lot of music.
Last Friday, the artist released a remix of his 2021 track Hello, featuring JB of K-pop group GOT7 and Taiwanese American rapper OZ. And that is it for now. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Heart disease is a leading cause of death here in the Philippines. In fact, it affects 1 in 6 Filipinos. For the most part, it's a consequence of an unhealthy diet. But it's never too late to adopt healthier habits in order to take good care of our hearts. On the program today, we'll talk about practical and effective ways to live a heart-healthy lifestyle. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. At the very core of our overall health is our heart. Our guests are here today to give us tips on how to keep it healthy. With us is Dr. Gilbert Villela. He's the president of the Philippine Heart Association and the director for education and research of the Philippine Heart Center. Also with us is Coach Jay Garcia, who is a medical exercise specialist of Coach J Wellness. Early on the show, we mentioned that Filipinos are vulnerable to heart disease. And one of the main reasons for this is an unhealthy diet. I'll start the conversation with Dr. Gibo. What is it about the Filipino diet that puts us at high risk for heart disease?
The Filipino diet comes from the culture from Spain and China. The Spain is oily and the China is salty. Oil plus salt equals cardiovascular disease, equals hypertension, equals diabetes. Kapag masyado kang marami na kain na oil, this will cause an inflammation in your arteries, making it very stiff and hard. That's why the heart will get a hard time pumping blood through it.
You explained to us what happens to the heart when we have an unhealthy diet. But I think one of the cultural reasons, like what you said, apart from that, is there's a gap between when a person eats unhealthily and when they feel the symptoms. I think this is also one of the reasons why people who eat unhealthily do so continuously also because they don't really feel any symptoms right away. Is eating unhealthily going to catch up with us eventually if we continue to do this?
Yes, especially if you take an excess of sugar and excess of oil also. Because these things, these foodstuffs, will stimulate a lot of insulin production from our body. Kasi di ba ang insulin ang nag-metabolize ng sugar mo tsaka ng oils mo. And then, mag-overwork ang liver mo and then it will secrete a lot of fats. And these fats will cause fatty liver, and fatty liver is the gateway to diabetes and metabolic syndrome. Now, if you excess oils and sugars will harden your arteries. Remember na yung arteries mo, dito pinapump ng puso mo yung blood para mag-circulate. Ang tigas-tigas yan. So yung heart mo, hirap na hirap siya mag-pump. So what happens is, ang una-una mong mararamdaman ay chest pain kung minsan, shortness of breath kadalasan, And then mamamanas ka o edema ang tawag. Kasi sobrang hirap na ang puso mo.
Let's talk about yung kapartner ng eating healthy, which is exercise. Coach Jay, gaano ka-importante ang exercise or physical activity sa ating mga puso?
Very important, no? Kasi exercise, we as humans were designed to move talaga. So if we don't move much, no, the problem with that is yung stored excess energy natin will turn into fat and eventually will lead to cardiovascular diseases.
Coach Jay, ano yung mga mas common na misunderstandings with regards to exercise? Is mahal ito, kailangan member ka sa isang gym? Is this true to be able to get an effective physical workout and to be healthy overall?
Not really naman kasi exercise can be, especially now during pandemic, can be done at home. There's a lot of form of exercise that you don't need bulky or expensive equipment. So for example, you can use your body weight, focus on the basic movement patterns such as pulling movements, pushing movements, squat movements, rotation movements. Our goal naman is at least exercise 30 minutes a day of physical activity is a good start.
For now, let's talk more about heart disease. And this includes a number of problems that can affect your heart. Here in the country, the most common are ischemic heart disease and hypertension. Dr. Gibo, tell us about these conditions. What happens to the heart of a person with these cardiovascular diseases?
Well, pag sinabi meron kang ischemic heart disease, ang pangunahing symptoms dyan ay chest pain. Actually, hindi naman siya actually pain. It is a discomfort sa gitna ng chest mo na parang mabigat o masikip ang paghinga. Usually triggered ng movement o ng exertion. Usually, ang hypertension naman, hindi naman siya heart disease, pero it is a risk factor for ischemic heart disease. Pag mataas ang blood pressure mo, in a few years, pag hindi mo control yun, you will have ischemic heart disease. Why? Because ang hypertension will stimulate obstruction or pagbabara ng iyong mga ugat. Ang ischemic heart disease, sa Tagalog yan, baradong ugat mo sa iyong puso. Yung supply ng dugo sa iyong puso ay nagbabara. Kaya hinihingal ka, namamanas ka, sumasakit ng dibdib mo, napapagod ka. Akala mo mataba ka lang o akala mo wala kang exercise, wala kang condition. But you're really sick with heart disease.
With hypertension, it is a risk factor for ischemic heart disease. Ngunit maraming may hypertension, Doc Gibo, na walang nararamdaman na simptomas which prevents them from seeing a doctor. Bakit kaya ganun, Doc Gibo? Ang taas ng high blood, wala naman siyang nararamdaman sintomas. What's your advice for people like those?
Kung ikaw ay 1, lalaki, 2, nakisigarilyo, 3, more than 60 or 65 years old, 4, ikaw ay merong diabetes, 5, ikaw ay mataas ang cholesterol, 6, may lahi ka ng high blood o sakit sa puso, and 7, pag ikaw ay obese o napakataba, dapat nagmamonitor ka ng blood pressure every day, twice a day. Anong gagamitin pang monitor ng BP sa bahay mo? Ang advice and guidelines, hindi pwedeng manual kasi mali daw yun. Ang mas accurate ay yung digital blood pressure monitor na nabibili sa mga drugstores. Kinakabit dito sa upper arm, hindi pwede sa wrist or sa thumb. Dapat sa upper arm. You have to monitor your blood pressure twice a day, before breakfast and before supper. Ang cut-off mo, dapat hindi ka lalagpas ng 135 over 82. Huwag kang lalagpas doon sa bahay. Pag lumalagpas ka lagi doon, punta ka sa doktor mo. Something is wrong.
Now, the two main risk factors for heart attacks are cholesterol as well as mataas na blood pressure. When we return, we'll talk about what to avoid to keep them in check. You're watching Med Talk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and welcome back to Med Talk Health Talk, where caring is our calling. A healthy heart often means a longer life. And among the factors that can contribute to heart disease are cholesterol as well as blood pressure, high blood pressure for that matter. And embracing a healthy lifestyle can help manage the two and in turn, keep your heart strong. Can we lose extra weight and be healthy purely from healthy eating alone? Walang weights, walang cardio.
It can be done, but in the long run, it has to be a combination of both. Kasi what tends, your body kasi settles for, it looks always for equilibrium. So for example, you tend to eat less, diba? Kasi you want to lose weight. Yeah, you lose weight at some point, but eventually your body will treat it as like you're in a starvation mode. Or for example, si Coach Jay kumakain ngayon ng konti. So what I need to do is slower ko yung metabolism ko. And by that means, babagal na yung weight loss mo and eventually magpa-plateau ka.
Pero Coach Jay, pagdating sa exercise, we all have the idea, pagdating natin ng exercise, gym, strict program, maraming pawis, lots of perspiration. But just being more active, increasing physical movement like taking the stairs on the way down after work, some studies say is enough to create a change in one's overall health. Totoo ba to, Coach Jay? Can we see significant results in our health with small changes in how active we are?
Yes, it's true. Kasi the main goal is here is to create a long-term habit or long-term goal. So some of us kasi we tend to start an exercise program, then we commit it for it like ng mga 1 week or 2 weeks lang. So kasi nga we tend to do it too soon, too intense, kung ano yung nakikita natin sa mga workout videos, sa mga friends natin. So basically, what we need to do is to build a habit.
What are some of the diagnostic tests available here in the Philippines that a cardiologist would request for those who are feeling symptoms of heart disease? And ano naman yung mga practical tests done for those who are not feeling any significant symptoms but would like a general idea of their overall heart health?
You better check your blood chemistry, including blood sugar, lipid profile, and then you could test. Also, yung liver function test mo. Now, pag ikaw yung nag-chest pain na, you must go to a cardiologist or to a doctor to have your ECG taken. Probably you will also need some x-ray to rule out any pulmonary disease causing the chest pain. And then you will have to have an echocardiogram para mas malalim ang tingin ng doktor mo para makita talaga anatomically anong nangyayari sa loob ng puso mo. And then if the physician sees na ikaw mukhang ischemic heart disease talaga, baka mag-request siya ng treadmill stress test.
Now let's shift the conversation a little bit back to the diet, specifically fats, cholesterol. Because if you're experiencing high cholesterol levels, avoiding saturated fats and switching them out for healthier options can reduce that number and improve your heart health. What are some of the foods na common dito sa Pilipinas that contain high amounts of saturated fats? Explain to us further yung impact ng mga pagkain na ito with our health as well as our wellness.
Cholesterol is not always bad. Your body needs it to build cells, make vitamins, and other hormones. So, ang sources of your cholesterol will be your liver. So, it makes the cholesterol that you need. Then the remainder will comes from the food, specifically animal-based food such as your meat and dairy products. So, yun yung tinatawag nating dietary cholesterol. So, examples of food na mataas yung saturated fat dito sa atin is of course yung mga beef, mga pork, ice cream, some baked food and fried food, and butter. So kung titignan natin yung dynamics ng diet natin dito sa Philippines, marami tayong nilalagay na ganito sa mga pagkain natin. For example, adobo. So ang adobo natin tends to be oily, salty, and mataas yung fat. So it affects our diet talaga in a bad way.
Doc Yubo, when it comes to diet natin, you explained earlier na ang sugar din talaga ang isang malaking culprit ng pagkababa ng ating heart health. What about salt? What about itong mga extra taba? Are they just as bad? Or what should our viewers know about salt as well as fats?
Too much salt will increase your blood volume. Hindi naman dadami yung blood vessel mo, pero dadami yung blood na nasa sa loob niya. Kaya tataas ang pressure. So it increases. Too much salt increases your blood pressure. Hanggang ano lang daw tayo 1.5 teaspoon the most. No? Okay, 1 teaspoon a day. Ngayon, sa fats naman, did you know na yung research showed na hindi sila nakakakos ng diabetes and heart disease. What was seen in research and in randomized controlled trials ay red meat, meaning pork and beef. Lalo na yung processed. Pero yung unprocessed pork and beef, they're fine. You can eat them siguro mga once or twice a week. Pero yung processed meats like yung mga binibili sa delicatessen, yung mga bacon, ham, and so forth and so on, siguro mga never in a day, so in a week. So talagang pwede ang unprocessed.
Pag-usapan naman natin ang medications that are catered towards, let's say, cholesterol. Merong gamot na para pampababa ng cholesterol, merong gamot na pampababa ng blood pressure, and all of these. Are these ways in which some people see this as a way, umiinom naman ako ng gamot, pwede ko naman i-continue kainin yung mga pagkain na gusto ko na mataas sa taba, mataas sa asin. Umiinom naman ako ng maintenance ko at gamot. What's the risk with this type of thinking?
Actually, gusto namin itama ngayon. Nung umpisa siguro, no? Nung unang pisang gumagawa ng gamot, ang medicine para sa hypertension at para sa cholesterol, ang purpose nila talaga is to decrease the level of BP and to decrease the level of bad cholesterol. However, ngayon, those medicines are not meant to just decrease the number, but to improve your health, to prevent disease. Ibig sabihin, pag niresita ka ng doktor mo, kahit ang normal ng gamot sa pampababa ng cholesterol, blood pressure, kahit ang normal ang BP mo at normal na ang bad cholesterol mo, you have to continue because ang ginagamot na niya, hindi yung laboratory mo, kundi yung ugat mong nababarahan. Kaya you have to continue them.
Now, eating well doesn't mean having to give up your favorite foods, but your favorite recipes can easily be adapted into a healthier alternative. More on this when we return. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. A healthy lifestyle involves a well-balanced diet, enough physical activity, and of course, a good and positive outlook. Today, we're here to help you adopt some of these simple habits to improve your overall heart health. Now, when we hear the term diet, we often think it requires giving up our favorite food completely or investing in expensive ingredients. Healthy cooking doesn't mean you need to be a gourmet chef. There are many ways to make meals healthier. Is it true that in order to have a healthy heart, one must live a life of bland food?
Hindi kailang bland. Dapat may salt pa din para masarap, no? May konting oil para may taste na masarap and everything. Ang problema kasi is the excess. Yun ang problema, yung excess. Too much. Kaya ang campaign is a balanced diet. Yung pinggang Pinoy, makikita nyo na merong isang tasang kanin, may isda or meat, tapos may gulay and fruits. Yun, kompleto na yun. Pero pag sinobrahan mo doon, excess ang tawag doon. So, yun ang mali na.
Now, for those starting their journey to eating healthy, it is often a road with many challenges. Nothing worth doing in life, ika nga, is easy. One of the harder challenges is keeping those cravings at bay. Coach Jay, anong mga tips na pwede mo ibigay to give those experiencing food cravings, lalo na yung cravings para sa sugary or salty food?
For my tips as a fitness professional, for example, if you mga Pinoy is heavy on sauce. Mahilig tayo maglagay ng mga sauce sa mga pagkain in everything that we eat almost. So instead of focusing on full fat base or cream based na sauce, we may shift to a light sauce. For example, we focus on herbs and spices to add taste to the food. And another tips that I can give you is go for soups. Kasi ang mga soup, it can fill you with fewer calories. Instead of focusing on cream-based na soups, focus on broth-based. So you can mix it up with vegetables such as lentils or beans to add fiber on your diet.
Probably the important part of the entire episode, and that is talking about prevention. Dr. Gibo, there are also other ways to prevent heart disease. Let's talk about this for our viewers.
Number one, do not eat too much. No? Paano ma-suppress yung appetite mo? By exercising. Did you know na those people who are exercising, mas less ang kanilang food intake? And then substitute nyo yung mga white rice and white bread with brown rice or brown bread. no? Kasi yung isang cup ng white rice niya is 200 plus calories na yan. Mantalang 1/3 lang ang calories na laman ng brown rice. And then yung mas si Jay, mas lentils ka, mas ako yung cauliflower rice, it's very good. And then kung mag-uulam ka, white meat ang pipilian mo. Monday to Friday white meat, meaning fish and chicken. And then siguro sa weekend pwede kang mag-red meat, isang meal na pork o isang meal na beef to prevent excess naman ang bawal.
Now remember, adopting these habits require the right mindset and a long-term commitment, but it will be worth it. Thank you to our cardiologist, Dr. Gilbert Villela, and medical exercise specialist, Coach Jay Garcia, for being with us today and for sharing your